In 2018, my morning started like any other morning. I needed to go to my university campus for an exam. I arrived at the bus stop early, but the bus didn't stop because I couldn't see it to hail it. Neither did the next two. I stood there, high visibility vest on, guide dog by my side, book number raised. A book number, by the way, is a set of cards with large print and braille route numbers that blind commuters like myself hold up to signal the driver. And to make absolutely sure that the bus would stop so I could get to my exam on time, I even called up the transport department the day before. But I was still left behind. It wasn't the driver's fault. They're focused on the road, traffic, and without a clear notice at the right moment, the decision to stop or not can pass in a blink. The truth is, despite what we have been told and despite the billions of dollars spent by governments and operators, public transport isn't truly accessible yet. Because true public transport accessibility isn't only about the physical infrastructure. Vehicles with ramps, spaces for wheelchairs, bus stop signage and braille. While these are all essential elements to achieving accessibility, there's still one essential component that is missing. That morning was one of many like it, but this time it meant I missed my exam. And that had significant life and financial implications. My degree was delayed by 6 months. It delayed my opportunity to commence full-time employment by half a year. And I felt like a second-class citizen. But this isn't only my story. It's one shared by thousands of travelers every day. People with disabilities can experience isolation daily because public transport isn't for everyone. This means smaller lives, fewer outings, reduced employment opportunities, and if you have ever pushed a pram, used a wheelchair, or struggled with stairs, you felt it too. Inaccessible public transport isn't just a social problem. It's an economic one. Governments in many states and many countries throughout the world operate subsidy schemes to help people with some disabilities afford taxi travel when other public transport options are not suitable. Australia is one of the countries that operates a taxi subsidy scheme to address this need. Half the fare is covered up to a maximum limit through a special smart card. The state of New South Wales, Australia's most populous state, is spending $43 million a year on its taxi subsidy scheme. And while there is no doubt that, until there is a better solution, that the taxi subsidy scheme is vital, there are two clear issues here. The first being that taxpayer money is propping up a system where there is an ongoing history of problems, including taxi and rideshare drivers refusing services to people with guide dogs, scenarios where my friends who use wheelchairs have to wait for 4 hours for an accessible vehicle to arrive, and where I have to spend a minimum of $40 a day to get to where I need to go, even after the subsidies. Across the country, that cost, both human and financial, is massive. And the second issue is we're accepting a scenario that is simply not good enough. The good news is we now have a better solution for a significant number of people that would otherwise be dependent on the expensive taxi subsidy scheme or are enduring social isolation by staying at home. Once I realized that no one else was going to solve the problem, I decided to be part of the solution. Inspired by my lived experience and amplified by research, insights, and a lot of trial and error, working with my co-founder, John, we identified that while significant infrastructure advancements have been made to the vehicles themselves, there was a breakdown in the system. The essential communication connection between the traveler and driver. While the world has embraced rideshare apps and food deliveries, where you can tell a driver exactly where you are and what you need, most public transport networks still require the physical act of hailing a driver to get them to stop. Behavior which requires people to be able to see an approaching vehicle and have the necessary mobility and spare hands to raise an arm and flag a driver. And it is entirely dependent on that driver spotting the gesture, acknowledging it within moments, while safely operating a vehicle amongst other traffic. Behavior with likely origins dating back as early as the horse-drawn omnibus, which began in Paris in 1662. As of 2026, that's 364 years ago. Surely, we could do better. We decided to create an app that would bring public transport accessibility, specifically the connection between the driver and the traveler, into the 21st century. It's like Uber, but for public transport. Through the app, travelers can plan a trip, see live information, and electronically hail a vehicle straight from their phone. As a driver approaches, an alert appears on their dashboard showing if the ramp needs deploying, the suspension lowering, and how many people are getting on or off. Drivers and travelers both get real-time updates at pickup, during the trip, and when approaching the destination, so no one is left behind. The app integrates with existing vehicle technologies like digital displays for drivers found in most modern vehicles, leveraging the investments that governments and private operators have already made to secure high-quality, accessible vehicles. This allows operators to get on board quickly with modern fleets anywhere in the world. For the first time, public transport stops for everyone. And this isn't a hypothetical, it's already rolling. In 2024, we completed a successful trial across more than 400 buses in New South Wales. And a public trial is currently underway in Melbourne, Australia's second largest city. For travelers wanting to use public transport today, they can use our app to catch public transport in the Greater Melbourne region. And it is working. Operators can make sure they take full advantage of the accessibility features of their fleets by making sure that travelers can actually board their vehicles in the first place. And previously frustrated travelers, including people with disabilities, those with mobility impairments, or those juggling a pram and children, can digitally hail a bus in advance, letting the driver know when and where they want to get on and off, and what type of assistance they require. It is empowering people to feel confident to leave their home and start using public transport. And that kind of inclusive accessibility isn't just the ethically right thing to do. It makes a lot of economic sense. Remember that $43 million a year taxi subsidy scheme? That figure represents 1.4 million trips each year, or 120,000 trips a month. If just 10% of those travelers use public transport, governments can save at least $4 million. And for travelers like myself, who have to pay the other 50% of the fare, we can collectively save another $4 million. Expand that savings globally, across cities, states, and other countries, and the impact is enormous. I'm often asked, isn't public transport already accessible? For me, and for millions of people like myself, that question still has a painful answer. No, not yet. Because true accessibility and inclusion must be systems-based. It doesn't stop at the physical infrastructure. They are essential components, but they're not the full system. Led by lived experience, we decided to identify and create the missing link connecting the physical infrastructure with the humans who use it. Because public transport is for everyone. So in the future, when I am asked, isn't public transport already accessible now? I can confidently say, yes. Thank you.